This is Comic Geek Speak, episode 1694, 2018 C2E2 recap and previews!
Laser beams, opinions like the seasons and everything you read in comics, movies, games, toys, artists, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek. Uniting the world's mightiest heroes. This is...
I'm Brian Chrisman.
I'm Shane Kelly.
I'm Adam Murdo.
And I'm Chris Everly.
Comic Geek Speak.
And welcome to the show. I will get to, well, hi, first of all. I will get later on in the episode my thoughts on the most recent 2018 C2E2 Chicago Comics and Entertainment Expo. But first, we're going to jump into previews because we have Mr. Everly on the line, whose time is somewhat short. So we'll.
Thank you.
Duty comes first. With these previews episodes, they are brought to you by the fine folks at Discount Comic Book Service. Go to dcbservice.com for all your pre-ordering needs. As always, when you pre-order with them, any DC, Marvel, Dark Horse, or Image title, they are right away 40% off the cover price. Most other publishers between 20 and 35% off cover price. And they do run many specials where they will have items for 45, 50, 60, even up to 75% off cover price. And you know what is always 75% off cover price, Shane? Previews.
I know, right?
If you remember to order the previews catalog.
It's like the third time in the last 6 months or year that I've forgotten.
Shane, I'm in the same boat as you.
And don't forget to order your free Marvel previews along with it. I think they've changed the setup.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yes. And they do also run many bundles of like titles together for one low price. They also continue to have the DC Marvel Trader hardcover special where they are half off cover price when you order them.
God, I love that.
Yeah. They offer bags and boards. You can get your book shipped weekly, twice monthly, or monthly. They're fantastic. We've been using them for years. So check them out. Discount Comic Book Service at dcbservice.com. Yes, Shane, I recognize you.
Don't get me wrong. I could send an email and say, hey, add a previews to my next shipment.
And they would do that for you.
And they would do that, absolutely. I just can't wait until my next shipment to get it because I needed to order from before the shipment would come.
Understood.
But they absolutely would. I have no doubt at all.
No, they're very good with adding things
Absolutely.
to it. Yes, absolutely. And you can even edit your order before it's finalized. All right. If there's nothing else, we're going to jump right into...
One more thing, Pat, if I may. I just wanted to, once again, both thank listeners for the very generous donations the show has been receiving in past weeks, and also to encourage people, if it's feasible, to donate, to hit our donate button at the bottom of our website page. Any denomination, $2, $5, whatever your pocket can absorb. We greatly appreciate it, and it helps us keep the show going, and also, hopefully on the road to make some additional improvements. So once again, thanks so much.
And before I forget, Adam.
Yet one more thing. This is my last chance here to throw out one more exhortation to you, our listenership, to participate in the voting for the Best of 2017 awards.
I got to do that too.
Yep, there's just a couple of days remaining here until the deadline, which would be midnight Eastern Standard Time, April 15th. That is this Sunday. So if you haven't voted yet, like my colleague Mr. Kelly over here.
Or done your taxes in the U.S.
Yeah, that's enough. I just mailed my return in this morning, as a matter of fact.
Me as well.
Just get yourself over to thecomicforums.vanillaforums.com. Find the thread about the Best of 2017 awards for a full list of all the nominees in all 16 different categories, and fill out a ballot and email it to bestof@comicgeekspeak.com before that deadline to make your voice heard. And sometime in the very near future, we will have the hotly anticipated awards show.
Better late than never.
Yes, such is true. And next year I'm going to be a little more on the ball.
Says you.
Says I, yes.
We might have something to say about that.
All right, enough of the tomfoolery. Previews. This is the April 2018 previews for items shipping to stores beginning in mostly June of 2018.
That's a good month.
Let's get started.
We're going to notice several changes to the format of the catalog as we go along.
Exactly, yes.
You mean we have to flip it to upside down to see the back half?
I don't
That
like
change?
that.
Well, they've also added
They've added a manga
Dynamite
section.
Dynamite as a
Dynamite and Boom both, yes. They're now premium, whatever their term is, vendors. So they've got their own special section right after Marvel and before what we call the back of the book.
Premier Comics. Yes.
Right away, if we go to Dark Horse, I want to point out on page 44, anytime Brian Wood is releasing a new book, especially one dealing in an historical context, I'm on board immediately. We have Sword Daughter #1, art by Mac Chater, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing that name. It's another Viking story. And if you read his Northlander series, which I consider a classic, you should, I'm sure, automatically want to jump onto this one. Art looks breathtaking on the next page. It's about a daughter and her father who survived their village being massacred and how they try to move on from that. So, in immediately on that.
Very next page, page 46, we've got another one of Dark Horse's collections of illustrated, adapted for comics Neil Gaiman stories, with art by Mark Buckingham of Fables. So that's called Likely Stories, a hardcover 72-page collection of short stories written by Neil Gaiman.
Page 48 and 49 are two examples of why Jeff Lemire is one of the best writers in comics. We've got Black Hammer, Age of Doom, and then Dr. Star and the Kingdom of Lost Tomorrow. Shane, have you read the first issue of that?
I actually have not. I'm not even sure I ordered it. I might have held off for a trade on that.
Okay, you're going to love this because it's a loving tribute to Starman.
It looked like it was.
And it takes place in the world of Black Hammer. This is one of the best superhero comics, I think, being produced in terms of the Black Hammer universe. So, highest recommendation.
The title character is actually named Jim Robinson. So
That's right.
Wears its love for that character and that
Nice.
particular run on its sleeve.
Yeah.
Page 51, a mini-series called Modern Fantasy, which appears to be sort of a workplace romantic comedy combined with an epic fantasy. It's sort of like Princess Bride meets Workaholics. It's by a couple of creators that I enjoy. One of them, the writer, is our old friend Rafe Roberts of Plastic Farm. And the art is provided by Kristen Gudsnuck, who wrote and drew something called Hench Girl for Scout Comics a while ago, which I thought was just cute to death. And Dark Horse did a collection of it a little while ago. And so it's two creators whose names I look for doing what looks like an interesting concept. So I will definitely be ordering Modern Fantasy.
I want to point out on page 52.
What page?
52!
Pants, I'm sorry. I was remiss there. Damn. I missed that Looney Tunes laugh. Carl Horn, the manga editor, has an essay here about that Dark Horse have been printing manga comics for 30 years. Kudos to them for helping to bring that the classic aspect of Japanese culture. And in many ways, one could argue probably they do it a lot better over there than we do it here when it comes to appreciation of the comic book form. So, and then they have various manga titles they're showcasing in the following pages.
A couple of interesting looking things on pages 60 and 61. On 60, Sullivan's Sluggers, which is apparently a story about a minor league baseball team versus a bunch of hideous Cronenberg-esque giant monsters. That is written by Mark Andrew Smith with art by just gorgeous. Well, gorgeous might not be exactly the right word. It's beautiful in its hideousness. James Stocco was the artist. He does a book called Orkstain, and he also drew a Godzilla miniseries for IDW a little while ago. It was called The Half-Century War. And he has proven several times over how talented he is at the detailed rendering of the grotesque. And now here's a story that combines horror and baseball. I'm not sure this is the first time that Sullivan's Sluggers has seen print. I think I recognize the title, but here's a Dark Horse hardcover edition, which really looks, artistically at least, especially if you're a fan of horror and or baseball, like something worth picking up. And on the facing page, we've got a Silver Age classic, reprinting the old Charlton Hercules Adventures of the Man-God comics, written by Joe Gill and Denny O'Neil under his pseudonym of Sergius O'Shaughnessy, under which he also wrote some creeper stories at DC.
How did I not know?
I did not know that.
How did we not know that he wrote under a pseudonym in the 60s?
Wow.
How did we not know that, Murd?
I don't know how you didn't know that.
How did you know that?
I know that because I read those creeper stories.
Oh, that's why.
Mm-hmm. And art by Sam J. Glansman. So, yeah, it's late 60s Charlton Adventures of Hercules. All 13 issues of that run reprinted by Dark Horse.
And actually, Pants, another way you would have known about Denny O'Neill's pseudonym or alias is that I think it was Alter Ego did a wonderful history on his career. I don't remember the issue number. I'm sure Mr. Weathington can help us with that, but they go all into his career, and that was obviously part of the story.
Nice.
Once again, I'm always going to pimp for tomorrows whenever I can.
Page 69, we've got a continuing, the latest installment in a series of trade paperbacks collecting a lot of different Hellboy short stories, mostly by Mike Mignola, but also by several other creators.
I also want to put on page 73, now Dark Horse has the license apparently for the EC titles. We mentioned this before, and they're releasing The War Against Crime, Volume 1. So this may be – I'm not sure this is a new addition into the EC Collected Library or not, but it's always great to see this, these classic works, one of the all-time most influential comic book companies, being lovingly reproduced. All right, so we move on to DC, gentlemen.
Certainly.
Sure.
A lot going on this month here.
There sure is. Man.
All right, so DC...
Well,
DC
go ahead, Bert.
Oh, sir. Thank you, Chris. On pages 80 and 81, DC is opening with a couple of titles spinning out of Scott Snyder's Dark Knight's Metal event. Yep. First off, Hawkman, new Hawkman series, picking up where Snyder left off with the character. He's made his attempt to revitalize, resuscitate, and in general rescue Hawkman from what was done with him in the early days of the New 52. So now we've got the frequently reincarnated Carter Hall version of the character back again. And Robert Venditti and Brian Hitch as artist are going to be chronicling his ongoing adventures.
Yeah,
and
now, I would say, how many times can we have Hawkman be re-envisioned? I mean,
In the same
kind of his
10-year
thing.
span.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Yep. Well, Peter's going to have to do a second volume to that oft praised by Chris Hawkman Spotlight.
Comic
one of these
Geek
days.
Speak, episode 989, Spotlight
One of the great-
on
yep.
Hawkman and Hawkgirl from Christmas Eve of 2010. Our gift to you, the listeners.
One of the greatest spotlights of all time in CGS history. Masterpiece. Mert, if you wouldn't mind, can you just, because I haven't read it, just very briefly summarize what is like the essence of the metal story? Like what tale is it telling, so to speak?
I've read only the first couple of issues of it myself, Chris, so I don't really know the total thrust. But it's a mystery stemming from a variety of mysterious substances, metals, extant in the DC universe, and also a mysterious demonic entity called Barbatos, who has arising from a dark multiverse, which I'm sure you've heard tell of, existing on the underbelly of the positive matter DC multiverse, much the same way that dark matter exists in the interstices of our physical universe here in the real world.
Evil multiverse.
Yes, populated mostly by Batman versions of established DC characters. It's not as creative as it perhaps could have been. No. But yeah, I haven't really gotten very far, but he's drawing on a lot of DC history. Peter Rios, on his podcast, The Daily Rios, has been doing a series of footnote type of
breakdown.
Thank you.
I believe he calls it breakdown.
I can never remember what brand name he's using for that. But yeah, he's breaking down the different issues of Dark Knight Metal. But he hasn't. I don't think he's gotten past issue 3, perhaps. So that's the main reason.
I got to listen to those then.
That's why I haven't gotten further with the series myself, because I'm preferring to read along with Peter.
Thank you, sir.
But then on page 81, speaking of Scott Snyder and metal, we've got yet another Justice League title. New. So I'm afraid this is what's costing us the Christopher Priest run on Justice League, because now the Justice League title is relaunching, issues 1 and 2 shipping in June. It's written by Scott Snyder. The art is provided by Jim Cheung and Mark Morales for the first issue, and Jorge Jimenez for the second. And it's a good-looking team-up. I like
I do too.
Yeah, it's the classic 7, then that means Martian Manhunter, plus Cyborg, so nobody has to be left out there, plus Hawkgirl. So that's 9 heroes. You could just throw in like Green Arrow, the Atom, and one more wild card. We'd have a full pantheon in place.
Yep. The only difference with Green Lantern is it's Jon Stewart this time versus Hal, or
I can live with that.
Simon and I forget the woman's
Jessica
name.
Cruz.
Which, yeah, I'm fine with that. I love Jon Stewart. He's great.
Any Green Lantern is fine. And it looks like it might have some this first arc of Justice League might have some repercussions from the revelations of Metal, especially considering that it's written by the guy who did Metal.
I love Jim Chung's artwork and anything, so I'm definitely checking that out. All right, page 82. Bendis is here
with a new Man of Steel 6-issue mini. Weekly, right? Weekly.
Yep.
And Shay, you see who's drawing issue 4?
Oh, no, I didn't. Ooh, excellent. McGuire.
Some good-looking creative teams here.
Yeah,
Issue
sure
1,
is.
Ivan Reis and Joe Prado. Number 2, Evan Doc Shaner. Number 3, Ryan Sook. Kevin McGuire on number 4. Number 5, Adam Hughes.
That's not bad either.
And number 6, Jason Fabach.
That's all top-notch, man.
Yep.
That'll be great.
Not a clinker in the bunch.
No.
And it all seems to have to do with Superman fighting a new bad guy named Rogol Zar, and the solicitation hype seems to suggest that the fate of Superman's wife and son might be in the balance. And I really hope Bendis resists the temptation of eliminating the quote-unquote baggage here.
Me too.
Page 84, we have a new Plastic Man volume written by Gail Simone.
Instantly.
Which is perfectly fine, but given in both hands, one Plastic Man, one Elongated Man, I would go for Elongated Man. So I'm just a little disappointed for me. But I'm sure it's going to be good.
Well, we did get to see Gail Simone writing Elongated Man.
We did. But it's fine. I'm excited. And then all these specials, Teen Titans Special 1, Titan Special 1.
Yeah, and I will be getting Titan Special 1 because
I will too.
I really do like Dan Abnett's run on that. And
I
the
do
art
too.
is by Paul Pelletier.
Yeah.
That's a great team right there. How about starting on page 87? I'm sure we're all excited for this.
They call him Jabba 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 Jaw. He's the laziest, craziest shark you ever saw.
And the great Aquaman team of Abnett and Pelletier. Abnett's writing Aquaman now as we speak, doing, I think, a classic run of that for that character. Backup story written by Jeff Parker.
With art by Scott Collins. Captain Caveman meets the Wizard Shazam.
In these next few pages, there's not a bad title that I won't be getting because I love all of these cartoons. The next one's Black Lightning and Hong Kong Phooey.
Number 1, Super Guy.
Oh, God, I have that all on DVD.
Oh, the art is by Dennis Cowan with inks by Bill Sienkiewicz.
Oh.
Wow.
As a team supreme.
And a backup
Flash
with
and Speed Buggy.
Funky Phantom and Spectre.
Oh, yes. It's
Flash and Speed Buggy. What's the backup on that one? God, I can't find it at the moment.
There might not.
Yeah,
there
might not
isn't
be
one
one.
for all of them. Black Lightning, Hong Kong Phooey. Well, you mentioned that. Funky Phantom and Spectre.
And then Super Sons and Dynamite. Dog Wonder.
Yep. I think it's safe to say we're going to be ordering all of those.
Yeah, you're not kidding, man. That's going to kill me.
I did want to take a step back here quick, though. But just before we got to the Hanna-Barbera specials for this month, on page 86, another one of the new age of DC Heroes series of titles. The Unexpected, which is apparently kind of like a supernatural adventuring team. Written by Steve Orlando. Art by Ryan Sook and Kerry Nord. There's another tempting creative team. It's made up of a really strange collection of characters. The Bad Samaritan, Neon the Unknown, Firebrand. Bad Samaritan was like an 80s Outsiders villain. And Neon and Firebrand were both like quality comics characters. They were potential Freedom Fighters members. Okay. So safe to say the characters we're seeing here are nothing like previous holders of those names. It's kind of like what DC did with those National Comics one-shots they did a while ago, where they just take the names of certain characters and try something different with them to keep the trademarks active. But Steve Orlando is a writer who's impressed me with it. I think he shares my interest in second and third tier characters. Just the weird little oddball seldom used characters. So I'm interested to see what he's going to do with these. Apparently there's some kind of a supernatural mystery involving Thanagarian mythology that they're going to be dealing with. So that is something that I will check out.
I wanted to jump ahead, if I could, to page 93, because, and Shane, you'll especially appreciate this, I've been going to my library, and I've been taking out the Tom King Batman trades. I didn't read any of that run as it first came out. So I just read the first one, with the Gotham duo, the young man and the young woman who have superpowers. He's the best writer in comics. This guy. I don't know. I know that's hyperbolic, but man, the work he's doing is just phenomenal.
Yep.
I mean, have we all read those first few issues except for Murd?
Yes.
Oh yeah, I'm caught up.
Well, even I skimmed through them anyway last year.
Okay, so I'll spoil a little bit because it's a while ago now. But when he's talking to Alfred about, is this a good death? You know what scene I'm talking about at the end of that arc when he's on the airplane.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, talk about just getting right to the essence of a character. Just no one does that better than Tom King right now.
Yeah. I agree.
And I had the next two trades on my nightstand, looking forward to devouring them. So I'm looking forward to catching up through trades on this. I'm sure it's already a classic run on Batman.
And to get ready for what happens in next month previews, a lot of these double shipping DC books will be hitting issue 50.
Yep.
Actually on July 4th will be Batman 50 will hit stores. That will be the wedding issue on the same day as the release of the Joelle Jones written and drawn Catwoman #1. I was lucky enough to be, we'll get to later, at the C2E2 panel. That was pretty much, announced. And I was like, holy crap. I actually got a wedding invitation and everything. When
I saw that.
That's right. You posted that on Facebook.
That's right. And speaking of Tom, he had, and I'll talk about him later on in the episode, he had mentioned, I don't know if it was to the public or on a podcast or to me, that he's doing a 100-issue run on Batman.
Wow.
Huh.
Wow.
So he's halfway.
Multiple wows.
He's halfway there with this double shipping. He's halfway there, and I'm sorry. He mentioned at the panel who's doing issues 51, 2, and 3. Lee Weeks.
Wow.
That's a team supreme.
Yeah.
So he's got the entire 100 issues planned out already?
No, he's going to be doing a 100-issue arc at the least. I don't know if that's going to continue, if he's going to go on after that, but that's still 2 years away.
Yeah.
Well, I would have believed you if you told me he'd already plotted the entire thing.
Yeah, I would have too.
I don't know about that. And now you meant I hate to interrupt your flow of things here, but you mentioned that you think Tom King is the best writer in comics right now, Chris.
Yes.
Well, so does Mr. Mark Waid.
Wow.
I was at a panel with Mark Waid, and it was asking Mark Waid 50 questions in 50 minutes, and somebody asked him who his favorite writer is, or who he thinks, who his favorite writer is right now in contemporary comics. He said Tom King.
Wow. That's high praise right there.
Yep. I'm sorry,
Well,
I didn't mean to derail.
That's gonna be quite an omnibus if he does 100 issues.
I'm all out of flow now.
Yeah, I didn't want to derail the conversation. I'm sorry about that, guys.
So we've already seen the Hanna-Barbera crossover things that are coming out. We've already got a Titan special, a Teen Titan special, Plastic Man, 6 issues of Man of Steel, 2 of Justice League, and the Hawkman. I'm a little miffed that on page 94 and 95 we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 one-shots leading up to the wedding at $4 a piece.
Yeah, I don't want to be negative, but I'm passing on almost everything right now, other than Batman.
Batman I'm getting, and I normally wouldn't, but again with these Hanna-Barbera comics, I do like all of those characters, so I might get all of them.
How do you, who's got more things on than I do, how do you find time to read anything? I haven't read a comic other than Batman, Back of the Birds of Prey, and Strange in Paris. I haven't read a book in 4 months.
I'm behind on certain things, and every now and then, every month or two, probably every other month, I'll take a chunk of Titans and I'll read them all at one time. And I'll take a chunk of this.
You'll binge it.
Yeah. With Justice League, Batman, now Strangers, certain Star Wars ones, although I'm behind on those right now too, I will take them what's the Doomsday Clock and Dark Metal. I'll take them when I get
I've read Doomsday Clock. Yeah,
I'll take those out of my shipment and put them right next to my chair. And every night I try to force myself, not that I have hard problems. I try to force myself upstairs at least just before I go to bed and read at least one comic to try and just keep reading something every day.
I need to do something like that because I am woefully behind, and I've pretty much stopped buying comics because I'm not reading them. Why am I buying them? I'm not reading them.
I'm still down to on average, 20, 25.
Oh, I'm more like 8 to 10.
But that 8 to 10 of them are Star Wars.
Oh my God!
And then the rest are these double ship and DC things.
Wow.
Because I'm trying not to expand my title readership, although sometimes I do. You know, Strangers comes in. How do you pass up Strangers?
You can't.
No. But I'm not getting all the stuff I would like to from DC or Marvel because I can't stand all this double shipping. I want to get everything I can, but what I can get is limited anymore. And I'll choose to get 4 issues of 2 different Justice League titles over other things because that's what I like the most is Justice League. Then I'll get Batman. And then so I am very picky, but it does add up to like 25 to 30 titles sometimes. But again, thinking 30 titles, 1 a day, I should be able to read them in a month. It doesn't work out that way, but I try.
Right. Okay. I'm sorry to derail, but so
That's a good derailment. So I'm a little miffed that we have 1, 2, 3, 5 prelude.
I am with
things.
you, Shane. I'm not buying any of those. I'll wait for the big wedding payoff, which they better not crap out on this the way they did with the Green Arrow Black Canary wedding.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, there was questions at Golden Eagle about that, and it was brought up in the Batman panel I was at. Somebody asked if this is going to be like a brand new day kind of thing, and Tom assured them, no, this is not going to be like that.
Good.
Well, good. That means Mephisto's not going to show up.
Well,
Yeah.
right.
On the whole thing, but something
they're
might
not-
happen to prevent them from actually tying the knot, and I hope
that's.
I
not
hope
the
they
case.
actually do.
I hope they don't have a baby and then have that mysteriously
Name
disappear.
it Helena, and then like little May Parker.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, Pants, because let's face it, the readership is so small. Why would you fudge with the continuity and all that nonsense? You don't need to.
Yeah.
You have an audience that's captive. Why alienate them even further? I mean, you guys know how much I love Spider-Man. I have never consistently read the character since that fiasco.
Yeah. No. Me either.
I read parts of it, and I'm reading that Slott's a fantastic writer. I'm reading what he's doing right now.
I agree.
But I didn't stay with the character consistently after that because I thought it was so needless and silly. So. But what's not needless and silly, and I am jumping ahead a bit here because I have to acknowledge, I know Mert especially appreciate this, is on page 126, Scooby-Doo team up number 39, the Scooby Gang goes back in time to the Golden Age and meets the JSA.
Yeah.
Already on my pre-orders.
Yep.
I put that right in my cart.
How do you?
Absolutely.
God, that book is great.
Sholly Fish again. Mm-hmm. And the cover image? I mean, come on. Come on.
Yep.
I don't need to come on. I'm already there.
You see, now that has me jazzed. That's the kind of thing, I'll pull that out. I'll read before anything else, basically.
Sure.
That's the kind of thing I love to see there.
Yep.
Now, Pants, how much do you think that cover art's going to go for?
Oh, geez, I don't know. It's weird if it's not digital. The Hanna-Barbera stuff doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't go for that whole lot of money, from what I've seen.
I'm surprised by that.
Compared to the
for
superheroes
the
stuff.
images that are in there, the characters that they're using, that they still don't get bumped a little bit more.
From what little I've looked for that kind of artwork.
Well, I am trying the Terrifics. I read the first issue. I liked it. I don't know if I'll stay on it for years and years. I don't even know how long. I don't know if it's a miniseries or if it's...
Shane, nothing lasts for years and years
I know.
anymore. Come on.
Well, Justice League does. They just keep changing it. I am still... And this is... Okay, so here's a good example. Here's one I'm behind on. I stopped getting Wonder Woman until James Robinson came on. So now I've been getting that. But I haven't even read one yet. So now I'm like 20 issues behind on Wonder Woman. That I will sit down and binge sometime.
Right.
Gotcha.
Well, Shane, I'm following the same pattern. I've mentioned this in the show before, is that now primarily I'm following writers rather than characters. So,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Part of that's money, part of that is just, my interests have changed as I've gotten older. But, when certain writers leave a title, I usually drop it.
Yeah.
And that's nothing against the next writer. The next writer might be great, but I'm just, moving on to
depends
something
who's
else.
Next. Yeah.
So,
Justice League and Batman are the things that I really stick with continuously. But even Batman, I come and go with sometimes, just not lately because I've really liked everything that's been written the last.
and
15 years.
to echo your most fabled quote, my friend, crap on a cracker.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes Justice League gets pretty close. Not lately, but at times.
I'm in trades unless anybody has anything more and floppies they want to cover.
Nope. I'm in trades.
Forge onward, my friend.
Page 134. I'm always happy to see this put back in print. The Thrill Killer trade paperback by
Oh,
Chaykin.
so good.
This is an awesome Elseworld.
Yes, it
Oh,
is.
if listeners have never read this, they take the world of Bruce Wayne and Batman, and they put it in like the early 1960s, like the Kennedy-esque, the cocktail lounge, and all that. It's the coffee house. It's fantastic. It's so well done.
We need to go back a page to 132 for a background on the Birds of Prey, Volume 3, the final trade, full circle. We can't not mention that's for Julie Benson and Jonah Benson, their final arc collected, which hasn't quite, issue 21, the penultimate issue, just came out yesterday. I read it, enjoyed it, so now I'm waiting for the finale to come on May 9th. But the trade is solicited here, on sale July 18th.
On page 133 is the third volume of Batman and Robin Adventures. When they came out with the Batman animated ones a few months ago, and then they moved to the Batman and Robin Adventures, these volumes have consistently been the nice newsprint paper that I love so much of how they were published. The Superman version of that, the Superman Adventures, started out with that glossy, thinner paper, but now has moved to the paper I love. So now I get the best. I was getting the Superman ones for Matt because he was reading them. I'm reading the Batman and Robin ones when I get the chance. But I love that they're collecting these. I want to see them do Justice League now because I think those are some of the harder ones to find. I don't see a lot of Justice League Adventures animated version comics anywhere. Maybe one or two here and there.
Well, Shane, let me echo that because when I was retailing and buying collections of back issues, kids comics were always hard to find.
Yeah.
And whenever I could get my hands on them, because we always featured kids comics in their own section, I was always so excited because they're not as readily available in back issues as one might think.
Yeah.
So
okay,
Myrtle, go ahead, Pants. Go
you
ahead.
touch on a topic of near and dear to my heart. We know it's even harder to find, I think, than kids comics. Romance comics, and to some extent, what you talked about recently, war comics.
Oh, without question.
Yeah.
Oh, Pants, without question. Romance comics, I mean, whenever those turn up, wow, just like, it's grab them right away because, first of all, the covers are often hilarious.
Oh, my God, yeah.
But no, you're right. I mean, whenever I go to Ides, they have a romance comic section. It's not that big. It's Ides, right? In Pittsburgh. And war comics, like, again, buying collections, you don't often see a lot of Sergeant Rock or Unknown Soldier or G.I. Combat. It's a very good point, Pants.
Or the Losers Crisis crossover special.
That
which
was
I have.
Yes.
was one of the harder ones to find.
Yes, it was.
But it's a great comic.
Murd, I thought of you on page 135, The Doom Patrol, the Silver Age Volume 1 trade paperback.
Yes, thank you, Chris. I do have a mark next to that one, actually. It's collecting My Greatest Adventure numbers 80 through 85 and Doom Patrol number 86 through 95. So some of the earliest adventures of DC's Merry Misfits. I talked about the first issue of the early 2000s version of Doom Patrol on my last Time Bubble episode. And
You sure did. I ate that up.
Mm-hmm. No, thank you, Chris.
You bet. Page 137, Justice League of America, the Silver Age Volume 4, written by Gardner Fox, art by Sikowski and Bernard Sachs, cover by Evan Doc Shaner. I love Shaner's retro covers. They're fantastic.
Every time one of these comes out,
trades.
I hem and haw back and forth about ordering it just because of my love of Justice League, even though I have all the archives. I have all 10 volumes of them. But I still look and go, half off. Maybe I should. No. Page 139.
I'm sorry, Murd, are you a Ragman fan?
I am a fan of Rory Regan Ragman. Well,
Okay.
even though his name is given as Rory Regan, this is a recent DC Rebirth reinterpretation of Ragman, which continuity will probably not recall for long. So I chose not to buy this miniseries, and I'm not going to buy the trade either. I'm just going to content myself with my Kanigher and Kubert back issues. I did want to say, back on page 135, right above the Doom Patrol Silver Age trade paperback Chris mentioned, DC Universe by Mike Mignola, a collection of comics set in the DC Universe with art by Mignola, written by such luminaries as Neil Gaiman, John Byrne, and Roger Stern, among others. It's about half Superman, half Batman, and a couple of other oddities thrown in. A Swamp Thing annual, a Phantom Stranger, excuse me.
With Eclipso.
That's right.
Uh-huh.
I don't think I even have that miniseries, come to think of it. But yeah, it's not every DC Universe comic that he ever drew. I mean, there was that Hellboy, Starman, Batman thing, which is kind of an entity unto itself.
Which is right in the Starman Omnibus, right where it should be.
Mm-hmm. Not without some wrangling, I'm sure, since creator-owned issues and all of that. But yes, for a Mike Mignola fan, there's a chance to see him work on some Big Two properties.
137 at the bottom has Orion by Walt Simonson. I'm sure that
Great
looks
series.
gorgeous. 139 has a new edition of Superman for All Seasons, which, if you've never read it, fabulous.
Classic. 140. I really enjoyed the Titans of Lazarus contract story. Abnett and Priest. I mean, that alone is enough.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys read that?
No,
I didn't.
I have it, but I did not read it.
Shane, when you get a chance to give it a read, I'd love to talk about it because I thought it was a really well-told story dealing with Deathstroke and actually his pain over the loss of his original son, which happened in New Teen Titans, was it 2, I think?
Yep.
And how he tries to address that in a way involving, shall we say, time.
Okay.
So it's good stuff.
I just read that issue number 2 of New Teen Titans. I grabbed the trade off my shelf when I took one of the kids to an appointment or a practice, read the first couple issues, went home and put it back on the shelf, and I'll pick it up again sometime and continue.
Shane, I'm sorry, Mar, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I'll make it quick. On page 138, there's a new edition of Frank Miller's Ronin for $20 before DCBS discount. And at the bottom of page 139, Superman Blue.
Which is kind of odd to me that they'd bring that out. I mean, I enjoyed it well enough. I read Superman Red and Blue in that whole time.
It's famous. It's if, perhaps infamous, but it's a famous little period of Superman history. There's a little shout out to our old friend Raf Suhu. He was a big Superman fan, and he started reading comics with the Electric Blue Superman story, which is what they're recollecting here from like 1997 into 98.
Yeah, I read it all.
It's electric.
Boogie, woogie, woogie.
You did disappoint.
Boogie, woogie, woogie.
Shane, just to irritate you, I wanted to point out on page 148 how they have the mime character not with his partner but with a different action figure. That irritates the hell out of you.
You're not kidding. Yeah, and I don't buy many toys, but I would have, like Murd had said, I would have considered that one. I'm not doing it split packages like that. Forget it.
That's why they did it, so they make you, if you want it that badly, you have to buy them both.
Nope.
Marketing.
2 figures for the price of 4.
Yep. Nope.
And they're $50 for the pair. So
When you're talking about $25 a figure, nope.
It's absurd.
Nope. I don't know. I know kids don't play with toys. I don't. I walk down the aisles of Target or even Toys R Us and see
What?
Action. Yeah, I know. See action figures, Star Wars figures, $8, $9, $10 a piece. I bought Star Wars figures for like $1, $1.99.
You're old,
I
Grandpa.
am. God.
Yeah.
Legos are still the most viable, economically sound toy, even though they are expensive. They have longevity. You can do a lot with them, and you can still sell them after the fact when the kids are grown up. Can't do that with this other stuff anymore.
Testify.
You guys ready for IDW?
Yes.
All right, we have to go immediately to page 157.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, so apparently this is the final installment of the Alan Moore and Kevin O'Neill classic League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, The Tempest, #1. That's all. I don't even care what's in the copy. I'm going to get it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's on my list. I have the I enjoyed the first 2 volumes when they were at DC. I actually have them in the omnibus format as well. But the stuff that's come out subsequent to that, I don't remember reading all of it. So I need to, like everything.
Like you didn't read the
I
Nemo
need
stuff?
I need to gather all these things, have a binge reading session to catch up on. We're jumping ahead.
Pants. So you didn't read the thin OGNs they did about 1910, 1969, and 2009. Is that what you're talking about?
I don't believe I did.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're all fantastic.
Or the Black Rose, or what is it called?
Black Dossier.
Black Dossier.
Nemo Heart of Ice is another one.
Oh God, it's there somewhere. It's a first world pants problem. But I just want to sit down with this, and after reading issue 2 of Strangers, I need to go back and read every issue of Strangers in Paradise again. I don't need to. I want to. It's like
I mean, I've been looking at that anyway, but knowing the new
nuances
coming out,
and the new stuff and the coming together of
I kept
of
walking
things.
by and thinking, I should really pick up volume 1 and start again. I should really pick.
Pants, one of the many things I love about you is very few people who speak about themselves in the third person can do without and you're still humble and have no ego.
That's endearing.
It's very impressive, sir. Very
Hey, I'm
impressive.
sitting right here.
Yep.
Oh God, Pants is getting upset.
I'm jumping ahead, and we can always go back. Page 187. Comic Book History of Comics, Comics for All by Fred Van Lente and Ryan Dunleavy. So have they done a series of these?
They did, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, sometime after Action Philosophers. That's when they
right.
started doing
So
that.
here they're tackling probably the origin of Japanese manga, French graphic novels, the British invasion of the American comic book scene, the battle for creators' rights. Fantastic. Page 189, this demands an immediate moment of enthusiastic testifying, in the secular church of the American comic book. Starhawks Volume 3, 1979-1981. All right, my heart is already beating quickly. Writer, Archie Goodwin. Artist cover, Gil Kane. So these are the comic strips that this Titanic team did back in the late 70s and early 80s. By the way, I wanted to point out, if I may, again, I always, any chance to pimp tomorrow's, the last issue of Back Issue, issue 103. Shane, you might have this.
I might. I don't think I've looked at it yet.
One of the most important and moving magazines that this publisher has ever done. There are loving, extensive, lengthy tributes to two of the finest creators and two of the nicest men in comics, Archie Goodwin and Mark Grunwald. And actually, also there's an interview with E. Nelson Bridwell in there as well.
Oh, my.
But I really want to applaud the publisher for, who says nice guys finish last? Because you know what? A lot of the shits in the comic book industry that probably those guys had to deal with, nobody remembers them in many cases. But these guys, it's such a loving tribute, and the number of creators who offer their thoughts on working with these guys and the impact they had on their careers, just their impact as being decent human beings and working with them. Please, if you in any way, shape, or form enjoy comic book history, I just want to read about decent people, whose decency came through in the way they applied themselves in their field. Get that issue of Back Issue. Top notch.
Leo DeRocher.
What's that?
No, silence. Leo DeRocher. He's the man who said, nice guys finish last.
Oh.
Moving on, pants. Go back. Come on.
did
What do you
go
mean?
over my
What,
head.
come on,
That
it's old school baseball.
That went right over my head. That
Come
one did.
on.
Usually I have an inkling. That one I didn't know.
I really don't have much sense of sports history.
Yo! Out! Get out!
Never.
Get out! You
Well,
and
the
your
good thing this is a
muddling.
comic podcast, right, Mert?
Oh, geez,
all right, now.
I'm sorry.
Page 192. Wow. Wow.
Oh, my
Bill Sienkiewicz,
Lord.
Mutants and Moon Knights Artifact Edition. You guys have anything else for IDW?
I'm just going to go back to 185 because I love Danger Girl. A prestige format version of the gallery edition and then a hardcover version. 64 pages, just Danger Girl artwork. I'm actually not going to get this. I've got enough Danger Girl stuff in my collection. And I have the nice DC Absolute version of the series.
I almost forgot to mention on page 189 the Unknown Anti-War Comics with art by, among others, Steve Ditko. Wow. So this is stuff from the Cold War, early Cold War era. Look at that Ditko cover. Ugh.
Edited by Craig Yo. Good stuff.
That's got to be fascinating stuff, yeah. You guys ready for Image?
Sure.
Bring it on.
Page 196 is very exciting. Look at that team.
Yeah. Mark Miller and Oliver Coipel.
Doing what is described as a Netflix comic book. What that means precisely, I'm not sure. But it's Mark Miller, treating another semi-classic comic book trope, that of the Circle of Mystic Protectors, the Magic Order, they're called, somewhat reminiscent of the Books of Magic Trenchcoat Brigade of the DC Universe. It's a bunch of street-smart magicians, members of family lines of Mystic Protectors, and a dark threat that threatens to bring their respective legacies down. So, interesting concept.
Okay, page 197. Take this with a grain of salt. But these people already have jobs where they can be wrong and still keep their jobs. Now they have a comic book? Come on.
Well, it's a comic book where one of them is framed for
Come on.
global genocide, so
Yeah, that's a little
sort of getting their comeuppance. It's about a Martian weatherman who is framed for triggering a massive natural disaster on Earth, killing most of Earth's population. So,
I guess that's a little more serious.
yes, and then that's where the fun begins. And I kind of like it. It looks kind of retro, late '60s psychedelic,
Yeah.
like the cover font.
Speaking of retro, I just wanted to jump ahead to page 204. Stellar number 1, story, forgive me if I mispronounced the name, Joseph Keatinge. The art by Brett Blevins. I mean, who's getting the heavy metal vibe from this? Wow!
Yeah.
Look at this artwork! Holy mackerel!
I was just talking with our friend Jason Daniels over the weekend about how Brett Blevins is making a comeback these days, and wow, what a comeback it is.
So this is about a Stellar. That's the name. That's its eponymous title. So, taken as a child, transformed into the ultimate weapon. One would end intergalactic war. She succeeded at everything except finding peace. Now she's roaming the universe as a bounty hunter. Look at that artwork. Oh. Suddenly, it's 1982. God, I mean that in a good way. Wow.
And I would take it as such. God, I go back
Good
to
stuff.
these in a heartbeat.
Page 206, we've got a new take on the quote-unquote classic Image Comics concept Bloodstrike. Brought to us by Michel Fif, the creator of Copra, which is an independent comic, which is basically a surreal, wonky, indie reimagining of John Ostrander's Suicide Squad. In which Mr. Fif expresses his love for that concept by carrying it forward into the present day far more successfully than DC Comics themselves have. And now he's bringing his same approach to this time not exactly honored Image Comics team. And I've never really wanted to read a Bloodstrike comic before, but I think this is the first. I am a fan of Copra.
All right. Murd, any testimonial from you should be taken seriously.
He knows what he's doing. Trust me.
I just want to point on page 210. I'm a little behind on Sex Criminals, but just look at the design, look at the cover. Like, it's such a great book. I mean, do you guys read Sex Criminals?
Nope.
I did. I think it was the first 2 volumes, and I felt like it was starting to lose its focus, so I kind of jumped off after that.
I think I did the first volume.
I stuck with it for the first 2.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, granted, it's been coming out more sporadically, so that may have also contributed to that your feeling there, Murd.
Doesn't
But
help. You're right.
But I just what a fantastic image. Before I forget, on page 233, the last issue of Kill or Be Killed, a series I've been loving since it came out. It's again, I'm a huge fan, as many people know, the Brubaker, Sean Phillips, Breitweiser team on every noir book they do. And again, I love when creators finish their story.
Hear, hear.
That's always a thrill. I'm looking forward. This has been a riveting series. You know, their take on sort of the classic vigilante plot device, and with a little bit of potential mysticism or supernatural thrown in, or maybe not. That remains to be seen. And people who read the book know what I'm talking about there. But wonderful. And below that, again, I'm loving Matt Wagner's swan song on his mage character. That's been thoroughly enjoyable. You guys ready for Marvel?
One more thing I wanted to mention.
Please, sir, please.
On page 218, it's a trade paperback collection of a webcomic. So those of us who are paper only get a chance to read this now. Written and drawn by Dean Haspiel. It's called The Red Hook.
Great creator, Dean Haspiel.
Oh, yes. He did something called The Fox with Mark Waid for Archie a while ago that I thought was really good also. It's the story of a super thief who is thrust into the role of a superhero against his will in a Brooklyn that has split apart from the United States and has become sentient. I'm always a fan of stories of sentient cities. I like the Jack Hawksmoor character from The Authority. And so now Brooklyn is thinking for itself, and it's a supporting character in this story about a super thief turned superhero, which is a concept that appeals to me ordinarily, but throw in the sentient city or borough, and I'm doubly in. So yeah, I'm looking forward to reading this on paper from Dean Haspiel, The Red Hook.
All right, for Marvel, I'm sure Pants will echo my excitement here. Jason Aaron is continuing with Thor. So they're starting Thor #1 again, and Odin's son has returned to the mantle. Again, if their current Thor is one of the best arcs in the character's history, that Aaron is finishing up with the Jane Foster version, and that was actually my nominee for best ongoing story of 2017. But like I said before, I'm following writers. So as long as Jason Aaron's on this book, or basically anything he's writing, I'm reading it. So,
Okay, I'm gonna go with some ignorance here. Why is Thor's hammer different as he spins it?
Because he's wielding a bunch of different hammers. It's that's kind of a key point of the first arc. The hammers of Thor.
Okay.
I don't think we know yet where all those hammers came from, but they're what this first arc is all about.
I didn't know if there was some historical significance that I missed.
how about that beautiful Christian Ward variant cover of that's fantastic. Wow. Beautiful. And on page 6, we have Iron Man getting another #1. I can't take the #1 thing seriously anymore at all. It's like, all right.
Yeah, a month or two ago, the previews catalog was full of issue number 694 and so
Yep.
forth.
Yeah.
And now, all of a sudden, there's very few of those left. We've got Captain America, Spectacular Spider-Man, one or two others, but beyond that, legacy numbering is
That disappointed me.
got a mayfly lifespan, I'm afraid.
But it's Dan Slott writing, so that's exciting.
Yeah, he's doing this and soon to be doing Fantastic Four, too.
And I don't
Oh,
want Hulk,
I didn't know that, Mert. Oh, that's wonderful news.
on page 10 and 11. I don't want Hulk to be immortal. I want him to be incredible.
It's yeah, that's Al Ewing, Joe Bennett art. It's a good team.
Alex Ross cover. That's
Yeah.
pretty darn nice.
Well, the Alex Ross. Go back to that. That's a riff on a classic image of the Hulk from the '60s, if I remember correctly. And they have a variant cover by Sal Buscema, one of the all-time great Hulk pencilers.
Yeah.
So Deadpool's getting a #1. The Scotty Young writing.
I do like in the last couple Marvel previews these little mini bios on all the creative teams.
Yeah. I'm going to read this. It's Mark Waid doing Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yep, I just may get that.
That looks fun.
Looks like a 5-issue miniseries. So limited term commitment. Speaking of Mark Waid, he's also going to be writing Doctor Strange at pages 24 and 25.
Which I'll be picking up again. And the Multiple Man is coming back on page 18 for 5-issue miniseries. Man, first of all, the Multiple Man miniseries by Peter David's a classic as far as I'm concerned. I'm sure some of you guys have read that.
I actually have not.
What's that, Shane?
I did not read that.
Oh, it's great. And then it was like a private eye, essentially. And then of course, the great was it X Factor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good stuff too. More Deadpool. Mark Bagley drawing Deadpool Assassin.
Yeah. My younger son said, "Do you think I can watch Deadpool?" No. No, not yet.
The Sentry getting a take by Jeff Lemire on page 23.
Good matchup there.
Yeah, I might give that a shot. And as you guys mentioned, page 25, Mark Waid writing Doctor Strange. I'm in. It's Mark Waid writing Doctor Strange. Come on. Artwork by Jesus Saiz looks beautiful, too.
Boy,
Doctor Strange in space.
Bum, bum. When we last left our hero. I'll tell you what, there's a hell of a lot of miniseries looking for Wolverine right now.
Yeah. I'm more excited about, again, skipping ahead to page 38, Jason Aaron's work on Avengers. The first issue hasn't come out yet. I'm really psyched to read that.
I did start to order Avengers. I want to try and give that a chance for a while, see how
Well,
it goes.
I'm sorry I missed that weekly story they did. When the Inevitable Trade of that comes out, I'll pick that up.
Yeah, me too.
And Wade's new run on Captain America has been wonderful. We have issues 703 and 704
Love
on
those
pages
covers.
40 and 41. What's that, Shane?
Love those covers.
Oh, Michael Cho. They're gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. You gotta love on page 42 a completely enraged J. Jonah Jameson. With Spider-Man in the foreground. It's a Mike Allred cover. That is fabulous.
And all I see is the 60s cartoon Spider-Man swinging at me on the TV.
Well put, Shane. Well put. And I'm looking forward to this. I'm just picking up Slot Spidey stories again, but look at that gorgeous cover on issue 801, Slot Swan Song for the character. This is on page 45. He's been writing Spider-Man now for 10 years.
Wow. Yeah, keeping a weekly schedule for part of that.
Yeah.
That's a magnificent achievement. Again, I'm jumping ahead. Forgive me, but I always like to point out how good Marvel 2-in-1 is.
Mm-hmm.
This is all Chip Zdarsky's baby. He just found because again we all really miss the Fantastic Four, and he's just found the fun, the sense of family, and also the history and the pathos as the Thing and the Human Torch try to soldier on without Reed and Sue and their kids. And it's been a great series. I'm really digging it. If you want to catch up on Ant-Man, because the movie's coming out in July on page 52, I like when Marvel does this. They're cheap True Believer comics. These are a bunch of classic Silver and Bronze Age and Copper Age appearances of the character.
Oh, nice.
That classic Avengers 223 cover where Ant-Man is perched on the tip of Hawkeye's arrow. What else jumping out you with the Marvel, gentlemen? I don't want to hog it all.
Dazzler X Song #1.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, I don't know if I can buy a punk Dazzler.
I know.
She'll always be that disco
Yep.
queen to you, right?
Oh, she is a disco diva through and through.
Yep.
Now, she might move
Page
forward
6
to
go
other
ahead, Merv,
genres.
sorry,
but
go ahead.
they'd be pop genres, though. I mean, you don't go from disco to punk with any credibility. Sorry, Madeline Rosaggio, but... Oh, yeah, pages
go ahead,
68
go
and
ahead.
69. Yeah, as a Kitty
That's what I
Pryde
was gonna
fan,
say, yep.
yeah, this is X-Men Gold #30. Just as Scott Summers and Jean Grey tied the knot in Adjectiveless X-Men #30, #30 of X-Men Gold sees these two longtime X-lovers tie the knot. And I will be there, and I repeat what I said about the Batman Catwoman nuptials. I hope that this turns out to be for real.
I want to point out on page 79, I always applaud Marvel or any company when they do comics oriented towards younger kids. Marvel Superheroes Adventures #1, Webs and Arrows and Ants, oh my. So Spidey, the Kate Bishop Hawkeye, and Ant-Man.
Drawn by Dario Brizuela, who also does the art for Scooby-Doo Team Up.
Who's watched the latest season of Jessica Jones?
Not yet.
I watched it.
Okay, I'm finishing it up. I mean, I'll talk about it more down the road. It's phenomenal. But Pants, doesn't the guy on page 80 look like Malcolm from Jessica Jones?
Yes, now you mentioned it. Yes.
Yeah. I wonder if that's – because it's not the same character, but I'm just wondering if that's purposeful or not. All right, Shane, as a Star Wars fan, how just exciting is the image on page 81?
Oh,
It's just a classic
absolutely.
poses for those characters.
And especially in, like, Luke's awards ceremony jacket, which I always
Yeah,
like.
I know you love that jacket. Yep.
Han's classic Bespin look, and Leia in something that looks like what Padme would wear.
And almost like her Hoth outfit, actually.
Yeah, almost.
I want to point out Charles Soule's knocking on the park with Darth Vader. This is on page 83. That series has just been gripping. I mean, again, you have the oh, God, I just brain farted. Who wrote the last Darth Vader series, Shane? I'm ashamed of myself.
I have no idea.
Kieran Gillen?
That's
Karen
it.
Gillan, thank you. Which I got the whole hardcover. I can't wait. That'll probably be a summer read for me to revisit it. That's a classic. And Soule's no slouch. This is just gripping stuff about the early days of Anakin in the role of Darth Vader. Mm-hmm. Outstanding. I want to point out on page 92, what is your thoughts on this, Bart? I've always heard great things about the Hellstorm by Warren Ellis arc. And they've collected an omnibus here. Have you read these stories, Merd?
No, I don't believe I have read. Well, I've read the Druid miniseries that it mentions. They threw that in there for good measure. And in addition to Ellis's Hellstorm stories, also that 4-issue miniseries featuring Dr. Druid, in which the good doctor ended up dead. So I have read that, and it did make an impression on me at age 16. But his Hellstorm stories I have not read.
Actually, I'm having a flashback now. We did our spotlight on the Marvel Monsters, which I think was back in 2013 with Jamie D. And I remember he commented how much he enjoyed the Hellstorm series. So that may be worth a read. Shane, look, here we are on page 95. I've already collected Avengers No Surrender in a hardcover.
Oh, excellent.
So if you want to get the whole thing in a hardcover for well, it's probably $25 from
yeah.
DCB Service. There it is. I might do that, depending on my finances for that shipment. All right, I got to point out because it's so essential. Is on page 98.
Yep.
Tomb of Dracula Omnibus Volume 1. I mean, we've talked about the series at length many times over the years. To me, this is one of the essential Marvel titles of the Bronze Age. Not just as a great monster comic, this is a great comic book, period. I mean, the Gene Colan artwork is some of the greatest of his career. Marv Wolfman weaves a fascinating take on the Dracula character that's very much in the Marvel Universe, but also its own thing. It's not the typical – I mean, it's based in the world of Bram Stoker, but Wolfman takes it in very different directions. To me, this is a masterpiece, essentially.
Let's see, I thought you were going with The Amazing Spider-Man by David Michelin and Todd McFarlane.
Which is good stuff. I'm not as huge a fan of this era of Spider-Man as other people might be. I enjoy it. But I'm not as big a Todd McFarlane fan as other people are. I mean, I recognize his importance and his impact. But to me, there are other eras of Spider-Man that I think are far more vital reads. I want to point out on page 110, this was a very good OGN Marvel did some years back in hardcover, and now it's in softcover.
Yes, it was.
Family Business by Wade and Robinson. Excellent story. I recommend that.
They're right next to it, your Marvel 2-in-1 trade.
Yep.
Volume 1.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Back on page 105, if you were waiting for the trade on the Secret Empire event, here it is. Enough said.
You guys go with Marvel?
Yeah, I am.
I think so.
The Go Boston.
All right. If you don't mind, I'm going to do a bit of a lightning round because I got to leave soon, gentlemen. And then you guys can finish, and then Pants can go to his breathlessly anticipated recap of C2E2. Thanks for letting me go first, Pansy. I appreciate that.
You're very welcome.
252.
Shane, you
252.
might have noticed this. Go ahead, Shane. I'm sorry.
252. Charlie's Angels.
That's what I was going to mention. Yep.
Good.
So they're just giving a new treatment of that classic 1970s TV concept. I love the variant covers.
Mm-hmm.
Could be fun. And then the next page we have Nancy Drew, written by Kelly Thompson. Obviously, a more modern, more hip Nancy Drew, but always a fun character. I wanted to point out on page 263, this is in Dynamite, I forgot about this story, The Greatest Adventure,
Yep.
where Bill Willingham, Fables, and Cesar Razek, artist covered by Carrie Nord, he takes all the heroes from Edgar Rice Burroughs' universe and puts them all together.
Yep.
Did anybody read this?
No, I was waiting for a collection.
Well,
There it is.
So I may check that out, again, depending on finances. It's $30 before the DCB service discount. That's not bad for a hardcover at all,
9
actually.
issues.
I wanted to point out also on page 265, I'm really enjoying all of Dynamite's James Bond stuff has been great. This miniseries of The Body is especially superb. Written by, I'm going to mispronounce this, I apologize, Les Cote. He really goes into like the sort of the moral complexities and ambiguities and costs of Bond's world and what he does. Outstanding. Highly recommend that. I'll leave you guys to wax rhapsodic about a lot of other stuff, but I wanted to point out on page 282, Shane, I thought of you here.
Yep.
Planet of the Apes Visionaries. Now, what some people may not realize, and the art, by the way, like Chad Lewis, looks phenomenal, written by Dana Gold, is that if anybody ever read the original Planet of the Apes novel by Pierre Boulet?
I did maybe 15 years ago. I don't remember a whole lot about it other than it was nothing like any movie I've seen.
right. It was really as much
Go ahead,
social
Bert.
satire as it was science fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually read it in high school. My high school library had it. But what I remember vividly, like you said, is it's nothing like the movie.
No.
In that the apes have technology like automobiles and aircraft and cities like we would be accustomed to. And this apparently is based on the first screenplay that Rod Serling did, which apparently followed the book far more closely. And if you know any of the lore behind the Planet of the Apes movies, 20th Century Fox said, we can't afford all these sets, like to make it like a
city.
So they did like they did the spray foam like huts and all that stuff that you see, which is still wonderful in its own way.
Oh, sure.
But I'm totally getting this.
Yep.
Absolutely. That's really exciting. Gentlemen, I have to depart. I just want to shout out those couple things. And again, as always, I appreciate it. And I mentioned tomorrow's before. Again, the latest issue of Back Issue, which we'll get to, I think focuses on the JSA and Roy Thomas and All-Star Squadrons of Merc and wax rhapsodic about that. But once again, check out that last issue of Back Issue. What a wonderful tribute to giants of the industry that always deserve more credit. Bridwell, Grunwald, and Goodwin. So, and Murray, I also want to thank you, my friend. Our CGS Goes to War, I thought it went really well. I really appreciate you co-piloting with me on that one.
Oh, it was a great deal of fun for me too, Chris. Thank you for conceiving this new format for us.
Well, we'll get back to it again down the road.
Oh, I hope so.
Brothers, I bid you a fond farewell. Hope the rest of the evening goes well. Pansy, keep those pantaloons loose.
Then there'll be pants on the floor. We don't want that.
No, we don't.
Terrific
To
image.
coin a phrase.
Oh,
All right.
we don't.
Good night, brothers. I'll talk to you soon.
Good night.
Very well,
Take
Chris.
care. Bye-bye.
All right. So I guess should we revisit anything else in Dynamite and Boom? Going for the premier publishers?
Well, I'm as excited as Shane and Chris about Charlie's Angels.
Yeah.
Not that happy that writer John Lehman talks about the 70s culture as quote-unquote naturally cornball. But
What?
yeah,
I just recently, iTunes had a sale, the season 1 of Charlie's Angels, for like $5. Couldn't pass it up.
I don't think I would have either.
Oh, $5.
No, but yeah,
20-some episodes, I would imagine, right?
Something like that.
Yeah.
I will join you guys in trying Charlie's Angels, though. See if he says it's going to be an international story that's something that the low budget of the original TV series would never have allowed.
Well, it's the 70s. It's still awesome.
Yes.
Up in Boom, page 299, the Power of the Dark Crystal, Volume 3. I have to check. I don't remember if I have Volumes 1 and 2 of that. I should.
Probably a Volume 1, at least.
Seems like something I'd order. Fraggle Rock number 2 on page 300.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I'm particularly excited about that. I mean, I'm going to buy any Fraggle comic they offer us, but this one, written and drawn by Jay Fosgitt, who created Bodie Troll and has done several issues of the My Little Pony comics. I enjoy his art quite a bit.
Absolutely.
And I know for a fact that he is an avowed Henson fan. I mean, I read a quick little interview with him a little while ago where he said that his philosophy as an artist was that he was just out there trying to create things that he thinks Jim Henson would be proud of.
Nice.
And this was in an interview about something that had nothing to do with Henson or the Muppets. So, when he, apropos of nothing, brings up Henson's name, he must be a fan.
Right.
And we are also fans of Henson's, and I'm a fan of Mr. Fosgitt. So I'm just doubly happy that he's getting a chance to work on an actual Henson property here.
That's awesome.
Really looking forward to the second issue of Fraggle Rock. Are we ready for the rest of the book?
Sure.
I believe so.
All right. And as we go along here, we will find that the magazines and prose books have been incorporated into the main of the back of the book. They no longer have their own special sections after the comics.
I like their special sections after the comics.
They are a thing of the past, I am afraid.
I know. And did I hear this wrong or read this wrong? Where at some point DC is going to do this magazine-y kind of thing, like
They will
Marvel?
have their own pull-out separate previews. It is true.
And you forget to order, kick yourself in the head, then, Shane.
Yeah, because now I got to order that, the previews, the Marvel, the
So many problems
It's
we're
not
having
costing
here.
you any extra money, but it's one more thing you have to remember to do.
Just keep it in the damn previews book.
Yeah, I
Anyway.
sympathize, Shane. I agree.
Just my lawn.
You kids.
I'm old. Anybody who didn't read it, page 312 has the complete Terry Moore's Echo, softcover edition. The next page, 314, in Action Labs, has Athena Voltaire and the Sorcerer Pope, trade paperback.
That's a great title.
Page 330, a new Star Wars memorabilia, the unofficial guide of Star Wars collectibles.
And they spell collectibles incorrectly, so that
Ugh!
Yeah.
kind of puts me off of it from the start.
Did
Something.
they spell it wrong? No, they didn't. They did it right in Bond vehicles.
Yes, there they did. It is they're collectibles, not collectables. The trouble with Tibbles.
Well, I mean, it's that way, not just in the solicit, but actually on the cover.
I'll see. Even with my glasses, I can't quite see that.
Yeah, he's correct. It's wrong on the cover as well.
Where do you see that on the cover?
It's on the cover, my goodness sake.
Oh my God, I cannot. There's
even
even with
see
my
the word was
glasses,
there.
I cannot read that little word. Holy crap.
Oh, I had to peek under my glasses there, Shane.
Really am old. That makes it worse. Now it's fuzzy. Whew. Time to go to the eye doctor.
Page 343. Interesting little something from Archie for fans of Silver Age, Archie MLJ type stuff. You've got Archie's Super Teens versus the Crusaders. So it's Archie as Pure Heart the Powerful, Betty as Super Teen, and so forth. Those classic mid-60s superhero bandwagon characters. Taking on actual Archie/MLJ superhero characters. The Comet, the Web, etc.
Oh, I was wondering why I didn't see Paperboy in there. I'm just kidding.
Right, not those
Not
Crusaders.
those Crusaders.
No, that was the Mighty Crusaders was the name that was given to their sort of Avengers Jam super team concept.
Nice.
Written by Ian Flynn of Archie's Sonic the Hedgehog comics. Art by Kelsey Shannon, David Williams, and Gary Martin. I am definitely going to buy that. And on the next page, Archie has been doing. It's revived their old 50s. Sci-fi humor concept, Cosmo the Merry Martian, and now they're reprinting a bunch of those 1950s stories in a trade paperback. You have 244 pages for $11, which I'm sure will be much less on DCPService.com. I'm going to be putting that one in my cart.
Pants, do you pick up any of the Doctor Who books?
When I was at Gallifrey 1 back in February, I heard about these for the first time. I heard Jenny Colgan talk about the Christmas Invasion, and I heard Stephen Moffat talk about Day of the Doctor, and I will get them at some point, just not right now. They're 25% off, which is not bad. They're $9.99, but if I know I'm not going to get to read them, I gotta stop buying things to collect them. That's why I've been so quiet during this previews, because I don't have a whole lot that I'm buying, and I don't have a whole lot to add. So I'm just in one of those weird spots where it's like I got to stop buying things if I'm not going to read them.
Yep, I've gone through
but,
that
many times. The concept is great. Bring back the Target books to modern times, and I 100% will get all of these and read them at some point. It's just that...
not now.
Right, not now.
I do that with a bunch of novels that I'd like to read. I just don't get them right away.
Because they really expand on a lot of the episodes and take them in different twists and turns. And from what I heard, that's really interesting. But again, it's reading without pictures.
I sound like my kids.
In a callback to the solicit for the final volume of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. On page 354, the aforementioned LOEG comic is supposed to be the final comics work of Alan Moore and Kevin O'Neill, its respective creators. Time will tell if that's true or not. But in the meantime, if you're craving more Moore and O'Neill comics to read, from Avatar Press, there's the Cinema Purgatorio anthology series, which is 48 pages of strange and wonderful ongoing comic serials, including content from Alan Moore and O'Neill, and also Garth Ennis, Kieran Gillen, Christos Gage, and others every month.
Speaking of Alan Moore, have you gotten any further in Lost Girls?
I haven't even started it yet. I'm sorry. I have to get through the amazing adventures of Cavalier and Clay first. So one thing at a time. But yes,
understood.
I will certainly read Lost Girls eventually. Thank you again for the loan.
No problem.
Page 360 under Bongo and United Plankton Pictures. It's time for the annual SpongeBob Comics Giant Swimtacular. This year it's classics of literature. It's adaptations of classic nautical stories. Moby Dick, Treasure Island, and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Featuring art by Jerry Ordway, among others.
Wow.
I always look forward to the Swimtacular every summer.
Page 386 has the new Overstreet.
Yeah, I always order that every year.
Yeah, I was debating about doing it this year.
It's just nice to have and to refer to, because it's a great reference guide, not just for prices, but for just first appearances, editors, writers, artists, that kind of thing.
Probably an up-to-date one in at least 10 years.
Yeah, I have. I think all the old ones I bring back to the studio here and put them on the bookcase.
I use them every now and then.
But I always get the hardcover because it's only with the DC bits. It's only a few bucks more, and it's sturdier. Yeah.
I tried paperback version in years gone by, and it did not hold up well.
Yeah, no. So, and it's a great thing to have. One of the greatest resources for comic collectors, I think.
On page 383, a few pages before the Overstreet listing, under Fantagraphics, something called Fab 4 Mania by Carol Tyler, which has to do with the Beatles. Now, from the looks of things, it's really more of a memoir of the author's personal experience as a Beatles fan than it is a work of history. But it just seems to me that CGS being what it is, and our tastes being what they are, anytime the Beatles show up in comics in any form and from any perspective, it's worth a mention. So,
Yeah.
On page 394, a couple of goodies. From HarperCollins, a book called Springfield Confidential, Jokes, Secrets, and Outright Lies from a Lifetime Writing for The Simpsons by Mike Rice, who has apparently been working as a staff writer for The Simpsons ever since it began back in 1989.
Oh, wow. Guacamole.
So he's got to have some stories, and they're in this book. So if you're a Simpsons fan, definitely put that in your cart.
Wow.
And on the same page, a rarity from legendary cartoonist Walt Kelly from Hermes Press. 2 volumes, not 1 but 2, solicited this month, of The Adventures of Peter Wheat. Walt Kelly, creator of Pogo Possum, apparently also in the late 40s and early 50s did a series of promotional mini-comics for Peter Wheat brand bread. And he created this little elfin protagonist who has adventures in wheat fields.
Man, oh man, just some of the things we learned by going through these catalogs and things that I'm not the historian that I should be, but I have a good grasp of comic book history. Some things I just never knew existed.
This is a major rarity.
Blow my mind. This is one of them.
Never
Good
knew
call
it
out,
did that.
Bert. Absolutely. Great call out.
Now, back in the day, you saw the Pogo movie.
I actually don't believe I did.
Ooh, boy, when that would run on HBO, I would watch that like mad.
Ooh, yeah, that I'm barely aware it exists. I have not seen it.
Oh,
Was it cell animated, stop motion?
God, I think it was claymation. Oh boy, I can't. I just remember loving it and not seeing it for a very long time now. That when I think of it, I really should write it down on my phone so I can look and search for it, and try to get a copy of it again.
I'm sure you can someplace. Page 399, Joe Books, which has the license to produce a lot of Disney comics these days. If you're a fan, like our friend Matt's daughter Sophie of Elena of Avalor, there is a Elena one-shot comic here, a 48-pager. And below it, a one-issue adaptation of Disney's Mulan. And also a couple of tie-in things relating to Coco and Incredibles 2 from Pixar.
I was surprised when the Incredibles 2, either a trailer or an advertisement for the Lego game coming on whatever station thing we have, the kids were kind of excited and go, wow, it's about time. They don't usually say that. I mean, even for movies that...
Well, I mean, how long has it been?
It's
10
been a
years?
long while.
Longer than 10 years, I would think.
But
Yeah, I think mid-2000s is when the
But
first
just
one came
that they
out.
got excited that the second one was coming out. Like, I get excited over the Star Wars, the Marvel stuff, Ready Player One, all kinds of movies. And they're like, okay, yeah, and they're excited to go see them. But they don't ever say, wow, I can't believe it's finally coming out. Like, they must have really liked Incredibles more than I thought they did.
2004.
That's what I would have guessed,
Wow.
yeah.
That'll be 14 years.
Thank you for the math there,
That's
James.
nuts. That is nuts.
I mean, I'm glad it's happening.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
kind of wish Pixar were working to develop more original concepts now instead of just making sequels of themselves.
Yeah.
But this is something that I've wanted to see, too.
Did you also die away from the Doctor Who comics from Titan?
I did, yeah. There's just so many of them.
It blew up.
I mean,
pick and choose.
I'm very happy they're doing, and they're even doing
absolutely.
the 7th Doctor comic back here, but it's $5.99 cover price.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's 56 pages and three issues, but I have to beg off of that because I'm just, if I'm not going to read it, I'm not going to buy it. I can always get it later in collected editions or in the back issue bins. That's my theory. As much as I want to support these books when they come out, I just can't be spending money on that if I'm not going to read it.
Well, that's why I fell away from Robotech in that. I mean, I really enjoy that book, but I think it's every other month now or something, and I fell away from getting to it right away. So I'm like, all right, that can go on the back burner for a little bit.
But I think, I don't know if it's been solicited yet, but I do want to check out the 13th Doctor comic when it comes out. I believe Jodie Hauser is writing that. And
Oh, nice.
Good choice.
I want to look into that when it comes out.
Yeah.
That I think I probably will make the time to
Sure.
read on a regular basis because I am really looking forward to this incarnation of the Doctor.
Gosh, I'm all the way up on 454 at Tomorrow's Publishing.
Oh.
Back issue 106, the 70s revival of the Justice Society of America.
That's already in my cart.
That is awesome.
When I saw that, because I used to get back issue all the time, but
that
I just couldn't keep up with it.
even though I am not caught up with that, but I still get that. That is such a resource of information and so many things contained in one issue. I still get that.
Yeah, this is absolutely our wheelhouse.
Now,
Golden Age in Bronze is how they define the theme. It's 1940s characters and concepts brought back in the 70s and 80s.
Yep.
This is what Chris alluded to in parting. All-Star Squadron, the Airwave backup series and Action Comics, and other things.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, this interview with Roy Thomas, Jerry Ordway, and Arville Jones is probably taken from the Heroes Con panel I was at last year, which was off the charts. I'm so happy I was there for that.
Now you'll have a transcript.
Well, yeah, because I forgot what I was listening to. But no, definitely it's already in my cart to buy.
And along much the same lines, on the facing page, also from Tomorrow's Publishing, a new book, Comic Book Implosion.
Oh, my God. How could I miss this?
An oral history of DC Comics circa 1978.
Oh, my God.
So in interview form.
Wow.
I have to add it to my cart because that's. I'm even going to circle on the book here. Circle, 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 circle.
I think you've circled it.
I did. Oh, man. How did I miss that?
Shane actually is borrowing my pen to
I
do that
am.
very thing right now.
How
Darn that.
did I miss
Because
that?
when I go through to put my order in, I'm going to go to back issue, make sure I put that in, I'm going to flip the page. So I not only bent the page around,
So-
I marked it aside of the book.
Continue about what it is, Mert, so the listeners know what we're talking
it is,
about,
what
why
it
we're
is.
going so goo-goo
Well,
gaga.
yes, it's about what happened at DC Comics in the late 70s when trying to compete with Marvel for market share. They flooded the market with a whole bunch of new, daring DC Comics titles, and that was known as the DC Implosion.
Editor's note, Mert meant to say explosion.
But then, just a few short months after that began, they got cold feet and gave most of them the axe. And that event was known as the DC Implosion. It's an interesting time in comics publishing history, certainly interesting in DC house history. And so this is, as an oral history, it's going to be in the form of interviews with creators involved. Mentioned here are Jeanette Kahn, Paul Levitz, Len Wein, Mike Gold, and others. And it's compiled by Keith Dallas and John Wells, who has been a DC Comics in-house historian. He's the one who's responsible for the Crisis Compendium package with the Absolute Crisis on Infinite Earths, which is an invaluable reference for serious crisisologists everywhere.
Oh, my God, just...
Fascinating topic in good hands.
An unbelievable book. I can't believe I missed that. Oh, and there's an even bigger article on page 375. How did I miss that?
I don't know, but
Well, that's why
this is why we do these things.
That's why we
you know?
do these things, because
we're helping each other out.
Because even the hosts aren't paying attention to their previews.
Well, 4 heads are better than 1.
Yep.
A couple of other things from Titan I'd wanted to bring up quickly, other than the Doctor Who comics. On page 438, we've got Mike Hammer comics. Novelist and occasional comic book writer Max Allan Collins adapting some Mickey Spillane stories.
Oh, man, look at those covers.
Art by Marcello Salazar. And on page 442, a collection of some Dan Dare comic strips written some time ago by Grant Morrison. Art by Ryan Hughes. It's the classic British. He's kind of like the Flash Gordon of the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
Is that going to be it for the comics, guys?
I don't think I had anything else I wanted to mention.
Yeah.
Shane?
No, I'm good.
All right, anything from manga or the back of the book for
Yeah.
toys and games and...
I don't know. I got to flip the book now.
Well, we should at least mention that the manga section exists. They're
Yes.
calling it Mangapedia. It starts on page 473, and now a lot of the manga publishers like Tokyo Pop or Vertical and Udon, they've all been flipped out into their own little corner of the catalog. So if you're a manga cow and you want to graze the solicitations for stuff to order, it's all concentrated in one place for you now. Not necessarily a good thing. I kind of feel a little bit like... The manga medium is being ghettoized by being flipped out into its own section like this, but some people may find it more convenient this way. I don't know.
Okay, does that wrap up the previous catalog for us,
that wraps
gentlemen?
up the previews catalog.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, if you lasted with us this long, God bless you. I'm going to do a little bit of a recap of my visit last weekend to the Chicago Comics Entertainment Expo, a.k.a. C2E2. Happened April 6th, 7th, and 8th. There's another show, One by Reed, folks who bring you Emerald City Comic Con, New York Comic Con, and I've been going out there, I think, every year, but maybe 2 since it was first established, I think, in like 2010, if I'm not mistaken. It's a nice con. It's easy for me to get to. It's a direct flight out of Philadelphia. Got a good place to stay. Walk to the con. And, you know, it's what you expect from a retail. They have a huge artist alley for creators. Just gigantic. Huge selection of vendors. There are a good selection of back issue dealers and original art vendors, but there's also like toys, there's pop figures all over the place. And all their just there's actually DC Marvel had booths there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Valiant, Archie, Dark Horse, Boom, Skybound with Image, Graffiti. So there's a lot of vendor exhibitors there for the publishers, I should say.
Anything interesting happen at the Marvel or DC booths?
I didn't get a chance to go down to too often. There was a lot of signings at all the booths.
Okay.
DC had to go to their photo ops. We can get background against a green screen and put into comic books. That's always cool. They also they'll give away like posters and buttons and freezers, that kind of thing. But the Chicago White Sox had a booth there.
Oh, get out! Wow.
I think they had Ron Kittle signing one of the days.
Out. Jeez.
But they had a wheel you could spin, and so yeah, that was a lot of stuff there. And it was the first con I've been to more than like one day. So it's probably, I think, Heroes Con last year, which was June. So it got me jazzed for comics for a little while because I spent most of my time dealing with the comics. Bought a couple of back issues. I started out in the $2 bins, and I said, no, I'm only going to buy dollar books. I got real tight ass and just went through dollar books.
You probably could have found even cheaper comics than that.
I probably could have, but I'm mostly finding Rebirth issues I didn't have, and also, I traveled light. I didn't check a bag, so I had to fit it all back on a plane with me. So I didn't buy too many books. I might have bought like 30 books, I think. Okay. Restrained from buying any artwork, although I saw several covers there. I'm like, oh, if I wasn't losing my job at Toys R Us, I probably would, bite the bullet on maybe at least one of these things. And that's the other thing. Walking around, whether it was listeners I met or creators, they would always ask me about Toys R Us and how I'm doing, which was very, very nice of everybody there. So I started at the con Friday. I made a beeline for Katie Cook's table because I had an idea for those quick sketches she does. Yeah. I figured she'd be the person to do it. And I told her when I got there, and said it's kind of dark. Jeffrey the giraffe trying to hang himself, but he can't get his neck into the noose because it's so small. He's so tall. So she knocked it out of the park. I think did you see that picture? Yeah. I posted that. And while I was in line for Katie Cook, I met a listener, Jack Chu from Chicago, who actually recognized me from my appearances on the Word Balloon and All Yeah podcasts. He goes, "Are you Pants?" I said, "Yes, I am." So that was nice to meet him.
Always flattering, isn't it?
Yes, I mean it happened so many times. It's like, "Are you Pants?" It's like, "Why, yes, I am." And listener Nathan from Peoria at Steve Bryant's table. I'm at Steve Bryant again. It was good to catch up with him about his book, The Sorcerer's Pope, from Athena Voltaire.
God, I haven't seen Steve in years.
Spent some time, met back up again with Mike Atchison, who we met last year.
Oh, yep, Atchatek.
And this year he brought his nephew Cameron with him, his 16-year-old nephew. So I saw we actually had a couple panels together, and actually very nice. Took me out to brunch on Saturday. We went out for brunch, and we were talking, about all kinds of things. And we were talking about. I said, hey, one of my favorite episodes is, and I'm going to digress a little bit here. So this is Tom King was at this convention here, and I saw Tom first thing Friday morning as we're walking around. He goes, "Oh, Pat, it's great to see you." We're chatting. Hi, and he asked me how I'm doing with Toys R Us. He was concerned, which was very, very nice. But I said, "Tom, do you know the significance of this convention between you and I?" And he thought about it a minute. He goes, "Is this where we first met?" I said, "Yes, this is where we first met in April 2012. The tables were turned. I was at a booth with Comic Geek Speak podcast, and he was a listener dying to meet us and talk to us. So he came and met me. He even got a shout out on the episode think it was episode 12, 17 back then. So he was like, and he said, "Oh, I remember where I was when I heard my name on the shout out." He was walking around. I said, "Wow, Tom, that just blows my mind." So I was telling Mike that one of my favorite shows is later that year at the Baltimore Con. I saw Tom again. He was set up for the very first time.
Yep.
And he said, "Can I come on and be on the show?" I said, "Sure."
Yep.
All right, I'll come up to the studio. I'm like, what?
Yo,
So
what?
he drove up to the studio.
I remember that.
And the first show we recorded, you guys weren't here yet. So it was just him and myself talking about Baltimore Con, talking about how, and which you've heard his origin story by now many, many times, but it was the first time I heard it from him. And it is, honest to God, one of my favorite Comic Geek Speak episodes because we just had a great banter. It's episode 1273. And I said, that's our origin story with Tom King. So Mike wanted to listen to that. And then Mike and I were talking, and he loves the Muddle Murd because he said in the Muddle Murd, there may be another one coming, just so you know.
Uh-huh.
And he goes...
I'm bracing myself already.
And he goes, yeah, I wish there was some sort of thing with pants, like some sort of trivia thing with pants. I said, how long have you been listening? And he told me, I said, have you ever heard of a thing called Iron the Pants? He goes, no. So I had to explain to him, and I'll explain to you listeners who might not be long, but what Iron the Pants was.
Your dehistoricization campaign has been successful, apparently.
Yeah. My God, maybe like 9 or 10 years ago between shows, Jamie and I were talking about TV and like Hogan's Here or something and doing obscure things. And we talked about it back then on the air. And then Matt goes, oh, is this like Iron the Pants? And so there was an Iron the Pants trivia segment very similar to, at the time, Stump the Rios and now Muddle the Murd, where we had question 3 come in based on TV. I think it was 150s, 160s, 170s TV, or was it 67 and 80s? I don't remember.
I thought it was 50s, 60s, and 70s.
But yeah, it was short-lived because I was awful at it, and it got me extremely angry when I was not doing well on these things. So I put the kibosh. It had its own theme song and everything. And I put the kibosh on that, and it will never, ever happen again on the podcast.
He threatened to resign on the spot if he was
it
ever
won't
put through
because
that again.
either I'm behind the microphone, the big boy's chair, and I ain't gonna do it, or I'm never.
Or you won't be here.
Yeah, I won't be here, so it's never gonna happen. So, but and he
That's
goes,
right. Every now and then we'll say something, you don't know it, but we're secretly cutting and pasting the questions and answers together with. No, I'm just kidding.
So anyway, that was nice to hang out with Mike for a while. I ran into John Suntress because it's his town of Chicago there, and we had a good, honest to God, about a good 15 to 20 minute talk right there in the Conform Artist Alley, and he's just wonderful. His knowledge of comics and his podcasts are legendary, and we're just talking about his appearance on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson when he blurted out "duck soup" in the audience one time. It was just recently aired on Antenna TV. We're talking about Don Rickles. Talking about just Art and Franco, and it was just nice to catch up with John Suntress. As I was leaving the con one day, I ran into in the vast corridors of the McCormick Place, Eric and James from the Cowcast with a K, Cowcast, from Cowabunga with a K Comics in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. They're listening to the show, and they have their own show about talking about basically like things in the industry. And I quiz them on their shop, and their shop is expanding, and you know of course you have to get other things besides comics in there, but they've got back issues, they've got gaming, I was like so if you're in the area you probably already know about them, but check them out. Saw Dean Stahl was walking around.
Oh yeah, good old Poozer.
He I believe had a portfolio review at IDW.
Oh yep, I saw that online. He was looking for that.
So check that out. And again, just so many of the creators that I stopped by creators who we know, just familiar to the Comic Geek Speak listeners. Katie Cook, of course, Art and Franco, and of course Tom King, whose line was just crazy. Steve Bryant, David Peterson, Mike Norton, Dave Wachter, Adam and Comfort, and of course Buzz. So it was good to see all those people again and catch up. And I was talking to Mike Norton.
It's quite a collection of dignitaries.
Yeah, talking to Mike Norton, and he knows he forgot that I worked at Toys R Us. He goes, "Oh yeah," and then he gave me an idea for who to work for and who to look into. And I won't say it on the air, but when I heard it, it was like, Oh my God, that's brilliant. I've actually followed up on that a little bit, so if something comes through that, you'll be the first or second or third to know, here, listeners. But it was great catching up with everybody out there. Ran into the listener Tyler from Indiana, Dan and John from Wisconsin. Ran into them at the Mark Waid panel, and I think Dan actually posted on the comic forums about our encounter. And when I was talking to Art and Franco, who just God bless them, they chat about me on the podcast all the time. I'm being told. And I also ran into somebody else to talk about there, Mike, also known as Skokie Spidey. So apparently they talk about us on the podcast all the time. I'm sure it's all about the love. Mm-hmm. It's all about the love. So it was good to catch up with them.
I saw they did a Art and Franco pants portrait.
Yeah, I was. Art does that every now and then. He drew a portrait of me, and it is quite flattering. I don't know, but that's also up there on the interwebs. And Sunday, actually, listener Bill Hood got in touch and just wanted to meet up, and so we did. He was with his wife from Louisville. While she was waiting in line for a This Is Us panel,
Okay.
we chatted for literally about a half an hour, and that was like the best. We're just sitting there chatting on this couch by the window, overlooking the lake, while his wife's waiting in line for this panel. And we just talked about all kinds of topics, and he did give us a couple of his prints that he does. He did a print of Dr. Doom, which he proceeds for this print donated to the Cancer Treatment Centers of America in memory of Jamie D. So I'll show that to you guys. And he also gave us another print, which I think is probably for you, Mert, or you guys can fight on it. Justice League of Ponies.
Oh, that's funny. That's cute.
Yep. So that was very nice. When I was talking to Buzz at his table, who we'll try to get, a lot of folks have been asking about getting Buzz back on the show, even like Buzz and Uncle Sal. I make no promises. They're both very busy, but when I was doing that best of Sal episode, listen to those episodes, gold. It's gold.
God, I said months before other things happened with my mom and various other things, I had contacted Sal about sending something out to him that I've had for him for months. I still have not gotten it out to send it. I'll send him another message.
Okay. And again, when I was at Buzz table talking to him, somebody walked up and said to me, "Are you Pants?" I said, "Yes, I am." His name was Dante. He's a friend of Buzz's from New York. And he was one of the guys who listened and loved those Uncle Sal episodes with Buzz. Like the Tony Salmon thing. Oh, if you haven't listened to those, go back in the archives. It's good stuff. And as I was literally leaving the convention, heading, again, back to the quarter, heading back to my hotel to get my bag, ran into Nick Hill, who's from the area listener, who I actually he had proposed. He's the one who had proposed to his girlfriend through a comic page being in the story of the Gilmore Girls, where he wrote his own script, had somebody draw it, and actually I gave the script to Julie Benson, and she threw a few pointers in there for some dialogue, so that was awesome. So, of course, they are now engaged, those crazy kids. So that was a lot of fun, and I did go to a couple of comic panels. I made it to the Action Comics panel.
Oh, that
with Brian Michael Bendis was on there, Tom King, Clay Mann, so many people working. I think Patrick Gleason, folks working on the Action Comics title. Of course, the Batman panel I talked about with Tom King, Joel Jones, Tim Seeley, Clay Mann again, Tony Daniel, because Tony Daniel's doing an upcoming arc. They talked about the Booster Gold storyline coming up in Batman. He sort of spoiled it. I won't necessarily do that here.
Yeah, God, don't do that here.
But because you could talk about it, and it was like, oh, wow, that's a great thing. It's sort of Booster getting a wedding present for Bruce. Nice. I'll just leave it at that. And it was great. And I went to this Mark Waid panel on Saturday where I've heard this before. It's called 50 Questions in 50 Minutes with Mark Waid. Where you just sit in the audience and ask him questions. I had a question all prepared. See if this rings any bells to you, Bert, because I think you were there. I said, in the mid-'90s, you came to a local comic shop in Reading.
Keystone Comics. I was definitely there.
Which is no longer there.
Hasn't been for years, no.
He came to a signing. This was post-Zero Hour and before Underworld Unleashed.
This is the early, like the very beginning of 1995, I think.
I believe that's correct.
Yeah, because X-Men Alpha, the beginning of the Age of Apocalypse story, had just
Okay.
had just come out.
And again, this is an aside. I was there. I think I was even there wearing a shirt and tie because I was on my way to work that day or coming from work. And Mr. Murdo was also at that same signing, but we didn't know each other. We passed in the night.
Yep.
That's how
Matt
Jamie-
was there too. We went together.
Oh, my God.
Jamie and I used to pass at Star Trek conventions and never knew it.
Yeah. But I was there at that time to get him to sign a couple of Flash comics and so forth. And he was talking about Underworld Unleashed coming up. Maybe not by name, but that it was where they're going to have a lot of villains get enhanced. And he asked me and maybe others at the signing, if you have any villains you think you'd want to see enhanced, send me an email. And so my question at the panel was, did you take anybody up on their offers of villains?
That is a great question.
And he said, it's been so long, I forgot. Let's just say yes. That was his answer. So I thought, okay. But then during the panel, one of the questions he got asked was, what character that you haven't worked on would you love to write? And he said, Green Arrow. So I heard that, and immediately I texted Julie and Shauna, and I said, Mark Waid just said he wants to take over Green Arrow. And if you go on thecomicforums.vanillaforums.com, I posted their response. In that same panel, as I mentioned, Mark Waid said his favorite writer for current comics is Tom King.
Yeah.
I texted Tom King at the same time and said, here, Mark Waid said he loves your work. And, they both texted back. And after the panel, Mark Waid decided to go outside and have some signings because he wasn't having a booth, so he had a couple signings for just people just right there out there in the hallway, which was great. So when everybody sort of died away and moved away, I said, hey, I know the writers of Green Arrow, and here's a text. And he texted them right back to my phone. And the same thing with Tom King. He goes, here, Tom King, and here's a text. And so all that happened, and even Mike Atchison recorded the encounter of me talking to Mark Waid next to him. About half an hour later, I hit my hand to my head. Oh my God! I didn't ask him anything about 52. What was I thinking? I completely blanked. I fanboyed out and I just froze and forgot to ask about 52.
There's always next year.
Yeah, but so again, a lot of time you get FaceTime with creators there. That was a lot of fun. It was several hoots there, and like I said, I could have spent more money. I could have just done a lot more things there, but it was just great from my perspective for comics. Really cool. Publishers were there. Great panels.
It's probably been 2 years since I've been to a show now. I think I went to a Baltimore show 2 years ago.
We miss you, Shane.
Oh, I miss going.
Heroes Con is looming.
Oh, I know.
I got the Pantmobile all gas up, ready to go. Occupation permitting, of course.
Sure.
Who knows? I could be doing what Mike suggested I do. You never know. So, just a little quick recap. It was a great time. I met a lot of listeners. Again, like I said, I met a lot of the creators. And, yeah, just talking to Tom, he was just effusive in his praise, remembering when we first met. And I asked him, I said, was I a jerk to you? Because I don't know, sometimes behind the counter, but no, he said, you were a jerk to me. He said he was nervous about meeting me. Can you imagine that right now? And you see the line he gets? It's crazy.
The way you are, yeah, I'd be nervous. No, I'm just kidding. I can see why Tom would be nervous about meeting you.
I remember when he was tabling at the New York Con with his novel, A Once Crowded Sky.
Yeah.
And, he invited me over to just come and sit and talk about, I guess, the higher notions of superhero storytelling. And, I never took him up on it.
Oh,
I remember that first Baltimore setup. I was over talking to him quite a little bit. I'm sure that's one of the ones I took Jamie to.
yeah. And I can remember even, I hate to do this name, but at San Diego 2013, I think he was set up in Artist Alley, which was very small tables with his book, It Was Crowded Sky.
Sure.
And, he wasn't well known at that point. This is before everything, hit with Grace and everything. And so my friend John Brooke and I were there. We were talking to him, and we took him out to dinner. We went to the Tilted Kilt that night. And I think he might have even I'm not even sure, he might have bought us dinner. So those days are gone. To walk up because Tom said, oh, hey, we should hang out. And I got back to him and goes, oh, yeah, I got to go hang with Dan Didio tonight. It's like, oh, okay, Tom, I see how it is. But I love these shows like this where it was in the Midwest. You get pulling from all over the country there.
Much easier for everyone to come from both sides and meet in the middle than go
and
cross country.
McCormick Place, I believe, is the largest convention center in the U.S.
Wow.
And it was literally about I got to the door from my side of the convention, a good 10-minute walk to where the convention actually was. So there is clearly room to expand if they ever want to. But it's still, I think you could have done it in a day if you wanted to. But of course, more days, more time for panels and things. But
A chance to explore in more detail.
explore in more detail, yes, exactly. If you want to go spin the wheel at the White Sox booth, you could have done that. All right. Well, if there's anything else, we'll adjourn.
No.
All right.
Gavel has been hit.
Once again, this episode was brought to you by Discounts Comic Book Service. Go to dcbservice.com for all your pre-ordering needs.
Visit us at comicgeekspeak.com. To send an email, the address is comicgeekspeak@gmail.com. To leave us a voicemail, the number is 267-702-6642. Stop by, as Pants mentioned earlier, thecomicforums.vanillaforums.com. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook. Thanks to everyone who contributes stuff, things, questions to the episode. It's always fun, and I always look forward to muddling words. And as always, we are uniting the world's mightiest heroes one listener at a time.
You got it on Wednesday, and you was psyched about it going to the ball club. These guys will talk about it, everything that geeks love. From case to laser beams, opinions like the seasons on everything you read in comics, movies, games, toys, artists, comic geek speak, comic geek speak, comic geek speak, comic geek speak, comic geek. Uniting the world's mightiest heroes.